Hello and welcome to the first episode of Series 2 of One Credit Only. There's going to be 2 games this episode as a request by the King of Arcade. As you saw, there's a nice new intro on the new series, and the new series is going to be put up in 720p, and because of certain effects that are on the video, it's recommended that you watch it full screen. So first up we have Shock Troopers. Both the games on today's episode are going to be completely blind runs. I did very much enjoy this game when I played it. Here we go, jungle route we're going to go for. I am doing the commentary after the playthrough on this series, due to it being much easier to do it that way. So yeah, at first I thought this game was going to control somewhat like Smash TV when I saw it, but the control system does work very well. While you're shooting, you stay locked in the position that you're shooting at, and I found that quite good. I do apologise that it's taken a bit longer to start doing these new episodes. Like I said on the forums, the last series was done in its entirety while the rest of the family was actually on holiday. So getting a bit of peace and quiet to do the commentary tracks is quite hard to come by now. My younger son, he's actually in, but he's playing nicely in his bedroom at the moment. And it's rather a nice day, unnaturally nice to be honest, for dreary old Britain. It's nice and warm, so I've got windows and doors open things, so you may hear sounds of nature in the background. I was quite happy to find that this was a Neo Geo title when I first booted it up, because I love the Neo Geo art style. It has got a very specific style, even for people that are non-SNK that make games for Neo Geo. There is a very distinct style to all their games, and it's something I love. I think the Neo Geo was pretty much the pinnacle of 2D graphics of that age. It always seemed to be above and beyond what many other people were doing. And obviously it showed in its history. The Neo Geo arcade hardware was used way beyond its sort of purpose years, really. I mean, even up to sort of the very, very late King of Fighters that came out was still running on the Neo Geo hardware, and pretty much still looked better than most other games that were out and about at the time. I must admit I wasn't doing particularly well at this point in the game, because that roll there was the first time I discovered that there was a roll to avoid bullets and things like that, which does come in very handy. And I did like the fact that this game does play very much like a shmup. I mean, obviously you can shoot in all 8 directions, but once you lock that direction down, you can pretty much play it as you would a standard shooting one. One thing I did have difficulty with, as I was playing this game with an Xbox 360 controller, obviously hitting things like diagonals perfectly on those sticks didn't work out very well. More for me really, I should have set it up to use the D-pad, but personally I find the Xbox 360 D-pad quite terrible. In other news, obviously you saw in a few posts above, I do own an arcade machine. Unfortunately the arcade machine is out of action at the moment. The JPEG interface, which sort of interfaces the PC with the 15 kHz monitor that's inside it, has died, so it loses sync after about 30 seconds, proving to be unusable. But luckily I'm getting some money soon, and will be rebuilding it. Once I do that, hopefully I will be using that to do the games, and hopefully my play should get quite a bit better. I'm not only replacing the JPEG, but I'm getting a new video card, replacing all the joysticks and buttons, and as part of it I'm going to fix up the whole thing and pimp it out. As you saw, it is an old style Sega candy cab, but it will be black once I've finished with it, as I just much prefer black hardware than anything else. And there we go, that's the end of Shock Troopers. A very good game. I enjoyed that a lot. I will be giving it much more play in the near future and hopefully get a bit better at it. But like I say, 2 games this episode, so let's see what comes up next. So here we go, this is Night Slashers, another suggestion from The King. Again, I didn't know what I was getting into when I first booted this game up, but I was suitably impressed. Let's just have a little look at the intro sequence here. So here we go. I decided to go with this guy because he's clearly into 80s metal, and obviously has heavy metal arms, which is quite nice. I was quite impressed when I turned this on. Obviously it is a straight scrolling beat 'em up in the same vein as Final Fight, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs and so forth, but you're picking up zombies. It's a zombie game, obviously years ahead of the current zombie trend in games. I must admit I do like my zombie games, things like Left 4 Dead and things like that. Although I must admit the Call of Duty zombie modes seem ultimately pointless, because I like a game, if it's a zombie game I like it to be a zombie game. Call of Duty obviously is not, it's an overly generic first person shoot 'em up based far too much in realism for my liking. So the zombie mods just seem rather out of place, in my personal opinion. I must admit, I don't know if any of you have seen it, but the Dead Island teaser trailer, not really so much a teaser trailer as a short movie really, because it doesn't show any of the gameplay or the game at all, but the premise does seem very nice and I'm much looking forward to that game. Again, this game by Data East. Again, Data East. I do like the fact that you can pretty much tell who made a game just by looking at it, because a lot of companies did have very specific styles to their games, and Data East was one of them. I must admit, one of my favourite Data East games is a strange one. It's a game called Tumble Pop. If any of you have seen it, plays kind of like Bubble Bobble in a way. You're a guy with a hoover who sucks up enemies and then blasts them out at other enemies. So here we go on the first boss here, using my special attack just to see what it looks like. And I do like the fact that all enemies melt in this game. And this bit did surprise me somewhat. I'd just done one boss, and then I'm shoved straight back into another boss. But generally, I did enjoy this game. I must admit, obviously the series is called One Credit Only, and I am steadfastly sticking to that. However, obviously old arcade games were designed to gobble coins, so the difficulty level on is ridiculously high. So I must admit I am fiddling with the difficulty setting somewhat. Usually I give myself at least one extra life per credit and tone down the difficulty ever so slightly. Otherwise these videos will be ridiculously short, as I've noticed on some of the other games that I've done a blind run on, and I've lasted sort of less than a minute in some situations. God, I love that melting. Excuse me. During this series as well, I'm also using a different microphone, because the other microphone I had was not working very well, and I am experimenting somewhat at the moment. I'm actually using a PlayStation 3i camera, which has the multi-array mic on it. The microphone actually seems pretty damn good, to be perfectly honest. It seems to give me a much higher volume, because one thing I noticed about my other episodes is the volume of the audio was very, very low, and because of the microphone output I couldn't really raise it that much without distorting very much, which is quite sad. I couldn't fix it really, because I do make music quite a bit, being a DJ and things like that as well, but the microphone I had just wasn't giving me the volume that I needed. This bit confused me somewhat. How I can sort of turn around and slide while running was a bit confusing, and obviously it looks like I'm getting a bit of graphical glitching there, but obviously it's not on true hardware, so you can't expect everything. But overall, again, I did rather enjoy this game, although it does seem overly boss heavy. Obviously I've done 2 bosses already, not done much else in between, and now we have a dual boss, which is very, very bizarre. Have some sort of zombie puppet, which is a bit crazy, and someone who looks like Richard O'Brien from the Rocky Horror Picture Show there. One thing I do find with a lot of these games is if you do get hit once, you will get hit repeatedly, and that's something that I must admit annoys me greatly in these games. You saw it in the Final Fight video. If someone punches you once, they will get in 3 or 4 free hits, and that can cause problems, and a lot of the time the only way of getting out of them is to use a special move, and in a lot of games that results in you losing energy anyway. So it's a bit of a lesser of 2 evils really. I mean, things like that I liked about this game. The fact that the bosses were not always at the end of the levels, they were just wherever you wanted them to be. But there we go, I got to, I'm going to say about level 3, although it's a bit fragmented, doesn't seem to go in the normal way of things. But there we go. So that's episode 2. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope the scan lines and things don't irritate you too much. I will listen to your comments and maybe change it for episode 2. So there we go. Trench J out. Bye now.